Hi, my name is Deborah Lloyd, and I'm the Executive Director for Good News Outreach. I've been here about 5 months. Good News has 5 or 6 programs that we serve, where we serve the community. One is our food pantry and our food routes, our elder services program, and 3 of our residential programs, Maryland Oaks, Mission Oaks, and Mercy House. We have been so blessed in relation to having Good Shepherd provide us so much support. They do a lot in terms of, they do weekly food drives for us, but then they just really did a recent major food drive, which really helped for us for the last 3 or 4 weeks in terms of how much that they were able to gather for that major food drive. I think we must have had about $3,000 in donations in relation to that. The other one is the work that Brenda Pop has done in relation to our Elder Services Program. And the Elder Services Program really reaches out to those elders who may be living alone and they are in isolation. And so the goal of that is really to not just to bring them food, but also to help them with things that they may need done around their house, whether it is light housekeeping, maybe it is just reading a story with them, maybe it is just praying with them, maybe it is just a phone call. So having those volunteers from Good Shepherd who are willing to do that is just remarkable for these people who, like I said, but for their engagement, they would be in isolation and we wouldn't even know some of the things that they need. Also, we have Mercy House, and the Mercy and Justice program. Mercy and Justice has been really great for our Mercy House. They engage the men that are there. Mercy House is for men who are transitioning out of incarceration and just need some support. As a result of the support that they are giving them and just their interest, I think one of the best ways in which they initially started and engaged the men of Mercy House was to ask them what they needed. They did not go in and say, this is what we're going to give you because this is what we think you need, but to ask them how they can be of service, how they can be of support. One of the things that they did from the Mercy and Justice was just to start off with something casual and do a barbecue. And it was just about getting them comfortable with the men and the men getting comfortable with them. As a result of that, we've started something called the GED sponsorship, which is great because there are men there that, before they even went to prison, they had not completed their high school diplomas or gotten a GED. And so Mercy and Justice has the volunteers there have been willing to help support or sponsor some guys who wanted to get their GED. Maryland Oaks is our income. It is affordable housing for those individuals who are men, women, and families. And so one of the things that they have done in relation to that is they, I think last year, they did the skirting for some of the mobile home units. And if anybody knows anything about mobile homes, one of the things is really is the upkeep. So our goal is not just to be able to provide them housing, but to provide livable housing, livable, affordable housing. And so those volunteers from Good Shepherd have been great in relation to helping to facilitate that and also participating in that and finding volunteers for that. So we have just been, it has been exciting to have Good Shepherd so involved with Good News Outreach. Again, one of the things that Good Shepherd does on a regular basis is weekly. They do, I can't even call it a food drive. It's just weekly. They bring in those members of the parish, bring food to and donate it to Good News. And so every week on Tuesday morning, we have volunteers from Good Shepherd who show up, who bring food that they have gathered from over the weekend, and it is wonderful and is a great addition to our food pantry. We also have those members from Good Shepherd who sometimes will come and volunteer just administratively and just support the organization in terms of what we need administratively. Those who are asking all the time, what is it that we can do? I think what I like the idea that this is absolutely faith in action. One of the things that we are always thoughtful about is that we don't ask, particularly when people come to our pantry, we don't ask them to show us, prove that you need these things. And I think the volunteers from Good Shepherd, they epitomize that, and that they don't ask, there is no judgment, there is just the work that they're choosing to do to be able to support this community and those who are in need, whether it is the poor, the literally homeless, or the working poor. So we really appreciate what the work that Good Shepherd is doing and has done with Good News Outreach.
Hi, I'm Pastor Amanda Nichols. I'm the pastor here at Grace Mission Episcopal Church in the very heart of Frenchtown, which is one of the most impoverished areas in the city of Tallahassee. We are a USDA certified soup kitchen. We served approximately 52,000 meals out of here last year, as well as doing other wonderful ministry programs within the community of Tallahassee. We're very proud and very happy that we have a great partner in Good Shepherd Catholic Church. They've helped us on a number of initiatives that we have implemented within the community. One of those being our One campaign, where one Saturday each month we go into the largest housing project, Springfield Apartments, also known as Joe Louis, within the city of Tallahassee, and we take a 26-foot refrigerated Ryder truck filled with wholesome and nutritious food to the residents that live in Joe Louis. We have many people and many volunteers that need to go with us. Good Shepherd brings a whole contingent of people to do anything from the administrative work to loading the bags in the truck to delivering the food to the actual apartments. We have one group from Good Shepherd that comes every single Saturday that we do this, and we've been doing this for 4 years now, with a group of guys, and they deliver the wholesome and nutritious food to all of the people that are considered shut-ins, that can't get out of their apartments for whatever reason, whether it's medical or age or whatever the case may be. And so we're very happy that they join us every Saturday. They've also have served food here on a number of occasions, as well as their youth groups coming to help us with many different projects as well. I spoke at the Human Rights and Religion Symposium that was done a couple years ago on also human rights and justice for those that were living in poverty. It was a very well attended symposium, many wonderful speakers. I learned a lot of new things, and so again, we're just very happy to be in partnership with Good Shepherd and the wonderful things they do within the community.
Good morning. We are Steve and Marilyn Hammond. We have been involved in prison ministry since about 1979, so that's about 35, 36 years. We started out in Leavenworth, Kansas at the federal facility out there. More recently, for the last 10 years, we have been doing ministry here in Florida at Wakulla Correctional Institute. And in addition to that, I have been doing work over at Florida's Death Row and at Florida State Prison with solitary confinement. And then on Sunday afternoons, Marilyn and I together go down to Wakulla and do Sunday services. And like I said, we've been doing that kind of work about the last 10 years. One of the things that we have learned through our experience in prison ministry is that what goes on in the prison is just part of a much larger area of concern, and that has to do with the criminal justice system, the juvenile justice system, and all the things that happen on the outside of the prison walls that have a great impact on the inmates inside and on their getting out. And Marilyn's going to talk a little bit about some of those aspects of our ministry.
Yes, we have felt very called to this ministry for many years, and feel strongly that there need to be people in our community who reach out to those in prison. As it says in Matthew 25, we are called. It's one of the ministries that we're called to as Christians and as Christian Catholics especially. And so it has been a great blessing in our lives to go on Sundays, and as Steve said, he goes additional times to other facilities, and to get to know these children of God. And we often think there, but for the grace of God, is our nephew, our son, our grandson. And we just try to bring them two things: the Eucharist, which is food and nourishment for their journey as they experience their life in prison, incarcerated, and our presence. I think it's truly a ministry of presence, of just being there with the community of inmates that the Lord has formed, and radiating His love to them, and then, as in any ministry, they give back so much more to us. And it is truly a gift in our lives that we treasure. We have been blessed to be a part of a prison ministry team at Good Shepherd in Tallahassee, where Father Michael Foley has been a huge supporter for many, many years. And more recently, we have felt very supported and encouraged by the Mercy and Justice Commission here at Good Shepherd. They have done so many things to support this ministry, to educate parishioners and outside community on important issues such as the death penalty. We went to a wonderful conference this past year regarding that. We even had a couple stay with us who were serving on the team that presented the conference. They have offered a course through Just Faith that both Steve and I took here at Good Shepherd, which was called the Church of Second Chances. And we had a core group of people who attended classes, I think it was for about 12 weeks each week, and read some materials, had great discussions and prayer services that really, I think, encouraged those of us in prison ministry, and then enlightened some people who came to the classes who really didn't know much about it. And that's part of what we're about outside of just going into the prison walls, is educating people in the community. You want to talk a little bit about Mercy House, too?
Yeah. All the work that we do inside the prison walls is very necessary and very fulfilling, but it's only part of the bigger picture if we can't help these guys, if we can't give them the tools they need to survive and exist successfully on the outside. And so the whole issue and process of reentry and successful reentry is very important. There's a nonprofit organization here in Tallahassee called Good News Outreach that supports inmates that are trying to make that transition back into society, and they run a place called Mercy House. It's 2 buildings that houses, between each of the buildings houses about 4 or 5 people who have been released from prison and are making that transition back into society. And so we have started putting together a group of volunteers and people that attended this class that Marilyn just talked about. And we have started going over to Mercy House about once a month to take a meal in, sit around, talk with the guys, find out what their needs are. And they've got so many needs. I mean, getting out of prison and making this transition back into society is very, very challenging and difficult, especially if you don't have family, immediate families. And so we are, in a one sense, becoming an extension of family for them by trying to find out what their needs are, what we can do to help meet those needs, and thereby help their successful transition.
And once again, when we went over to Mercy House, a group of us, and enjoyed a wonderful evening of pizza and fun and conversation, and we listened to the men. And at the kind of towards the end of our evening, we asked, what can we do to help? How can we help you? And they all said this, just coming to see us, treating us like regular people, just enjoying fellowship. And it's really kind of the same as what we found when we go into the prison. They want to be considered more than a number, a felon or an ex-felon. They just want to be known as people. And so it's really been a blessing to have the support of the Mercy and Justice Commission, because for a long time, for many years, it kind of felt like we were kind of alone out there in a way, with just a very small handful of volunteers. And now it's so wonderful because I feel like we're part of a bigger part of our community, of our church community, our parish community, and that there are people out there who want to help, who want to get involved. And that's so rewarding, not only for us, but for the people that we serve. In fact, just the other day, someone came and said, "I heard you're doing this. Can you put me on your list? I'd like to be involved." And that was very encouraging. So we're very thankful and blessed for this ministry we're called to, and we're thankful for Good Shepherd, and in particular to the Mercy and Justice Commission.
Good morning. My name is Dale Resinella, and for 18 years I have served as a Catholic correctional chaplain at Florida's two highest security state prisons, Florida State Prison and Union Correctional, over in Rayford and Stark, Florida. About 2 years ago, we relocated back to Tallahassee, and once again we are members of Good Shepherd Catholic Church. And we have been very pleased to be able to share our experiences with Catholics here in this diocese and with parishioners at Good Shepherd through the Mercy and Justice Core Community sponsored events at Good Shepherd. There are prisons all over Florida, and the diocese with the most prisoners in the entire state is the Diocese of Pensacola-Tallahassee. So as the Mercy and Justice Core Community does its job of educating parishioners and other interested people about how to put the social teachings of the Church into action right where we are, prison and prison-related needs, such as reentry services for people coming out of prison, support for families with a loved one in prison, support and services for families of a loved one who's a victim of a crime. These are all right around us, and these are the kind of things that all of us can find a way to help with. One of the things I get the most excited about in speaking to Catholics about the social justice teaching of the Church is that I find, as a general rule, many are not familiar with the fact that the whole social justice teaching of the Church is rooted in our understanding of Eucharist. Many of us have a firm grasp on the Church's teaching about Eucharist, but we haven't yet taken the next step of understanding the social implications, as Cardinal Benedict said, the social implications of our Eucharistic consciousness, which in his words impel us to reach out to people we don't know, maybe even people we don't like, and to bring to them relief from suffering the way Jesus Christ has brought it to us in a spiritual sense through his sacrifice, which is the basis of our sacrament, the Eucharist. So Eucharistic consciousness and social justice consciousness are part of the same cloth. And as we have shared this with people who have fully entered into this reality, not through our thoughts, but through the teachings of Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict, and now Pope Francis, they find it very exciting to realize that when they leave Eucharistic adoration, when they leave receiving communion in church, the question is, now, where do I take my Eucharistic consciousness in sense of bringing social justice, relief from human suffering into my community, my parish, my community, my state, perhaps even my country and the world. So the Mercy and Justice Core Community is a very effective way of sponsoring and promoting events and dialogues and discussions, dinners and table conversations, where these truths of our faith can be discussed and unpacked, and we can think out loud with each other about how do we put this into action right where we are. And it has been a marvelous thing coming back to Tallahassee after being on the east side of the state for almost 20 years, to come back with this thriving community already up and running and ready to assist in bringing this good news, the good news of the social justice teaching of the Church as part of our Eucharistic consciousness as Catholics, to bring this good news to the Catholics in our pews. So thank you for letting me share that with you, and let me know when you'd like to go to prison.
My name's Valerie Carnett, and I'm a parishioner at Good Shepherd Parish in Tallahassee. I am a communion minister for the Homebound, and I chose this ministry for a lot of reasons. I think one of the main ones is that as a child, my mom used to take me to mental hospitals, nursing homes, rehab centers to help entertain the clients. And I'll never forget one client that we actually were able to bring home to our house. We had several come, and I sat there in our living room, and Viola was blind, and so she needed something to do, and we had a big rubber tree in the room. And so Viola and I sat there and we shined and cleaned all the leaves on the rubber plant. She was so exciting. That meant so much to her. So my attraction to working and dealing with the elderly kind of started early on in my life. When my daughter was 5, I contacted Good Shepherd and said I wanted to become a communion minister for the nursing homes. And so my daughter and I started going together. And at one point we even found that one of the parishioners that we were bringing communion to just happened to be her teacher's mother-in-law. So it was exciting for my daughter to make those connections. Currently, I go to the rehab centers in town when we have a parishioner there. I also go to the Homebound. I've been seeing a gentleman now for a few years now, and he's 92, and he calls me his little heater because my hands are so warm and he's so cold all the time. I'm an introvert by nature, so it's not easy for me to get out and meet people, but I find that this ministry, I don't need to be an extrovert, outgoing, all of that. I can be me, and a lot of times it's not just totally about the communion. It's meeting people. It's just sitting there and being there. I have found that while for the parishioners, sometimes they just need someone to visit them, someone that it makes them feel special, that someone is coming just for them. We pray together. We read. I read from the Bible. Recently, I decided I need to do something a little bit different, so I got a book on Mother Teresa. And we're almost finished with the book, and I know it's meant a great deal to this gentleman. He enjoys not just our prayers together, but just the companionship. Sometimes I just sit with him. I just hold his hand. there's no requirement as to what you have to do or how long you have to do it. I mean, we do have our certain prayers and everything set out, and the administering of the communion and the sharing. So we have that organized. But other than that, my time with him, my just being with him, and him knowing that I'm there. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes I go and I may not even be able to administer communion because someone may be too ill. There are times that I become so involved and concerned about a parishioner that I'll go drop by a rehab center during the week just to make sure that they're okay. But that's something that I'm choosing to do on my own. Reading this book to this gentleman on Mother Teresa, I think the Holy Spirit brought this to me because Mother Teresa's whole focus in life was administering to the sick and the homebound or the needy. And what I stop and read this often because Mother Teresa, one of her prayers that she often, or quotations that she was often repeated was, "In the silence of the heart, God speaks." And I think that answers a lot of it for me, because when I go, sometimes it's just the sitting there and being together. I've learned so much from this ministry. It kind of knocks me back into reality sometimes when I walk out of a nursing home or I walk out of this gentleman's house, because it makes you realize your little worries and complaints are so insignificant in this world compared to what other people are going through. And a lot of these people, that parishioners that I visit, I would never have known them in my life, or the wonderful history that they have. Some of their lives have been so exciting, and it's great for me to be able to share that. So what I hope is that when my daughter, her daughter, my grandbaby, when she gets old enough, that I'm going to be able to bring her with me to share in this ministry.